questions in and around what's going on in the economy, what's going on in bonds, what's going on in your personal portfolio, the government spending, Social Security, is that going to be called into question with interest rates going up? How's this impacting our IRAs? Is this a time to be deleveraging? Should you be getting more out of debt? Whatever your questions are, 888-589-8840.
I'm learning, and I thank you for doing what you're doing.
The opinions and recommendations expressed by Dan are his own and do not necessarily represent the opinions of this station or any of the show's sponsors.
American Family Radio, Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia. It's great to be here. Let's just take a quick look at the Dow. It opened in negative territory. The Dow is now down 20 on its way down. I'm not 100% sure on this, so I probably shouldn't say it, but I believe if the Dow finishes in negative territory today, it will be negative for the week. I'm not 100% sure of that. We've already seen a 5% correction in the last few weeks in the Dow. That's got to have you a little bit concerned about some of your investments, and that's why we have Rapid Fire Friday. We're going to go to the phones, 866-300-9298. If you have a financial question or a comment, I sure would appreciate it if you'd keep try to get right into your comment or your question, and we'll try to get it. We usually stumble because of me. It's not usually because of the callers, but maybe I'll try harder today. Let me go to Valerie. Valerie's calling us from Alabama. Hey, Valerie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a quick question. My husband's employer provides insurance. Of course, we have to pay for it, but we just dropped it because it's $400 a month, and we were drowning financially. What's going to happen come January 1 when we don't have insurance?
You're going to get fined. You won't get fined January 1st. They will determine the fine because it's going to be a question they're going to ask you at the end of the year when you file your taxes. If you don't, so like if you have, a tax preparer or use TurboTax or whatever you do to do your taxes, at the end of 2014 or, into 2015 when you're filing your 2014 taxes, it's going to ask you the question. It may ask you, I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't think anybody does, but it's going to look like, I'm just guessing that they're going to either ask you how much you paid in health insurance premiums or, ask you, where your health insurance, is being held or whatever the situation is. And, if you don't have health insurance, it is going to ask you, it's going to automatically assess, against your refund or on your taxes so that you have to pay a fine for not having that. Mm-hmm. Now, the only way you can be... Pardon me? No, it's not income-based. It's got nothing to do with income. So everybody's going to pay the same fine. Now, here's the problem that the government has. The problem is it is less expensive for you to pay the fine than it is to have insurance. Yeah. And that's why the system's not going to work. Now, so there are young people. I mean, if you're married and have a family, I'd never recommend you don't have some sort of insurance. But there are young people, they're 27 years old. They're still single. They haven't even got a job yet. And the last thing they're worried about is health insurance that are saying, I might as well just pay the fine because it's going to be a lot less expensive. So that's the problem they're going to have. Now they're going to try to force you on exchanges. And the only exemption are those Christian-based organizations like Medishare, Samaritan's Ministries, those kinds of Christian-based healthcare organizations, which, by the way, people call me. I get emails literally every day. I get emails about those programs and people asking me, are they legitimate? Are they good programs? Should I consider them? And, I don't break down one company over another, one organization, they're nonprofit ministries over another. But I will say this, they are legitimate. They are programs. I know people that have them. 2 years ago, my wife and I looked very seriously about moving in that direction. And then at the last minute, we didn't have to. But nevertheless, and we may be looking, my rates are going up somewhere between 40 and 50% My wife and I are on two separate programs because my company wouldn't take her because she visited a cardiologist like 6 years ago or something, and her insurance wouldn't take me. So we ended up having two separate policies. But I know mine's going up at least 40 to 50%. I don't know about hers yet. We haven't gotten word. But so we maybe ended up looking at that again. So that's your only way of being exempt. That program is exempt from Obamacare. The state of Kentucky tried to say, we're not going to recognize it. We're not recognizing it. The company, the organization, took it all the way up to the state Supreme Court. They overrode the decision by the lower court and said, no, you have to exempt it. So that state lost that case. So that's your other option to save some money and have some protection, is to look at one of those ministries like Samaritan's Ministries or MediShare.
We've actually looked into MediShare, and we like what we see, but it's going to cost us just as much as having insurance. The problem is we were paying those premiums and couldn't afford to go to the doctor when we needed to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, because I'm sure the insurance is the same because, you know, you were paying, you know, $400 and some for a family. You know, that's not all that expensive. As it will be, or not all that expensive as it could have been had it not been through your employer. So, yeah, you're in a difficult situation, but that's what's going to happen, Valerie. You will be there's going to be some sort of fine as the IRS Obamacare police go through your tax return for 2015, and somewhere on that there's going to be a red flag that's going to, you know, show that, or maybe not even. Maybe it just assesses you immediately and you pay the fine, or it gets deducted from your refund. So thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Let me go to Stephen in Texas. Hey, Stephen. Okay, let me go to James. James in Kentucky. Hey, James.
Thank you for your service, sir, and your staff. The lady was real nice to talk to me. I didn't... I hope I don't get her any trouble. I mentioned about the debt. My questions were about the debt, and I know it's officially $17 trillion, but with the Social Security Social Security obligations and everything else. I've heard on the radio or a long time ago that it was really the true debt with all the way the laws are written is over. Was it over 200 trillion, or maybe even more than that, or less than that? And I may be wrong, but I don't think we can afford to go into Syria, really, to get involved in Syria.
No. You know what, James? You're not wrong. You're not wrong about that, by the way. We cannot afford it. We cannot afford any thing. You know, here's the thing about our debt and our economy, folks. Regardless of what you think about the economy, if you think that our economy is just pumping along and doing great right now, that's fine, and maybe it is for you. If you think that our $17 trillion worth of debt is not a big deal, and by the way, James, you are correct. I can't say you're correct about the $200 trillion. My calculations, last time I did something, which was about a year and a half ago, before a series of town hall meetings, according to what I could verify, it was about $88 trillion over and above the $17 trillion. So now I have seen $105 trillion, I've seen $150 trillion, and so on and so forth. So that's probably changed a little bit. It's probably closer to $100 trillion of unfunded liabilities. You're absolutely right. We can't afford anything. And the reason, what I was getting at, James, is you're absolutely right. We can't afford this. There's no doubt about that. We don't, as a matter of fact, we don't have the money for this. Okay, so, you know, it's going to drive us further in debt. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, we can't afford that any more than we can afford Obamacare, any more than we can afford the current spending on all programs throughout the federal government. We can't afford the inefficiencies and wasteful spending of every department of the government, yet we continue to do it. So, no, you're right. Remember, folks, no matter what you think about the economy, this is where I was going to finish my thought. No matter what you think about the economy, it's like on a razor's edge. We just have to sneeze in one direction or another, and we're going off that cliff. Or maybe we're sneezing in a good direction and we're getting a little bit firmer on a little bit of a more solid ground. But it is so tenuous. It's sitting on a razor's edge. There is nothing. There's nothing stable about this economy. There's nothing stable about the good parts. There are some good parts. There's nothing stable about the good things that may be happening in the economy. And there is nothing stable about the bad things in the sense that they're getting a little bit better and there's some light at the end of the tunnel. If there is light at the end of the tunnel is so long that it's just merely a speck. So this, James is absolutely right. This is not something we can afford, and we ought to be thinking about the cost, but we should be thinking about the cost of a whole lot of other things, not just this. Let me go to Tom in Arkansas. Hey, Tom, how are you?
All right, how are you, Dan? Appreciate
I'm good.
Everything you do.
Thank you.
I've got a question. I haven't caught whether you've said anything about it or not, but Monday night, Walmart made a statement that they were going to start acknowledging all unions, whether they be heterosexual or homosexual, and
yes,
they're going to give them insurance and give them same benefits as normal marriage.
Yes.
You know, and I have several shares of Walmart stock, and I was kind of keeping that up. I met Sam Walton several years ago and really liked the guy, a great guy, and really had his head on straight. But I'm thinking they're going in the wrong direction now, and should I sell off my Walmart stock, because it's probably in my portfolio obviously one of the best performers I've got.
Here's the thing, Tom. It's a great question. I'm glad you asked. And the night before last, I had a conference call with several folks talking about this issue, because one of the things that I was trying to do was determine how I'm going to handle this, and I was trying to get a handle on it. And I will tell you this as a matter of policy for me as I look at biblically responsible investing. And one of the things that I look at for biblically responsible investing, because as you know, Tom, Walmart is on my list. It was off my list for about 2 years. It got back on my list about a year ago. About a year ago. I look at what a company is spending money on, and I look at what a company is profiting by. Walmart assures me that this is an internal policy. I don't get involved with internal policies, and I don't get involved in discrimination laws that are being upheld. The companies have no choice on. This is not one of those things, by the way, that they don't have any choice on. They do have a choice. What I get concerned with is, are they supporting financially through my money or Tom's money same-sex unions? How do you feel? Is your ideology going in a place that this is not only quickly and unfortunately becoming the law of the land, but is this something that you believe in and are willing to financially support, like a Home Depot would do? Because if you financially support this by encouraging and entering into the culture war for this with my money, then I have no choice but to say I can't invest in this company. So I have not ruled it out. I'm still looking into it to confirm that this is an anti-discrimination internal policy and is not an ideology that is permeating the culture of Walmart to the point that Walmart is now going to get itself involved in this culture war with major support for this. So that's where I am with it right now, Tom. Keep listening. I'll keep you updated. But, man, I thank you for the call. So right now I'd say hang on to it until we get some more information. You're listening to American Family Radio Network, Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia. We're going to get back to the phones. We got a line open, 866-300-9298, and we're going to stay with the phones. Financial Issues, American Family Radio Network. We'll be back after the news.